All right, welcome back, everybody, to our Discovery Club remote, and we are going to do a new story today because it's been a week since we were together. We have some help from my family and Cassius, so we'll be sharing with you. So anyway, behind me I've got our timeline. Now I still need you guys' help because we need to catch up our timeline. So you guys have done a great job here. My boys helped us out last week, kind of catching up to the end of Genesis. But see all this? We've got all this Exodus stories that we need to do. So what I need you to do is take some time and draw some pictures. We talked about this at the children's message on Sunday. The calling of Moses, if you remember him, the burning bush and all that kind of stuff. So draw some pictures, the 10 plagues that God sent. And then last week, we told the story about Moses going up on the mountain after God had parted the Red Sea. And while he was on the mountain, if you remember, the Israelites made a golden calf and really were disobedient. And Moses had to plead for them for God to not destroy them. So I need you to draw some pictures, do some artwork, because what we're going to do is put up our timeline and just have your parents take a picture of your art with their phone and send it to me. They can send it to me at pastor@gardnerfirstbaptist.com, or they can text it to me and or via Facebook or whatever. Send me those pictures and we're going to add them to our timeline, and we'll get that updated with your artwork over the next couple weeks. So I need your help. Please help me out with that. But today I want to tell you a new story. And I'm excited about this one because I think it really can affect us during this time. So I've asked for some help. And during the time of the Exodus, of the wandering in the wilderness, God, when he made a covenant with his people, he said, I'm going to be present with you and come with you. And so he told them how to do that. And it started off with really just a tent. And the Bible calls it a tent of meeting. So over here today, we have our tent. And this is the place that God came and met with Moses. Okay, so I need God to come over. We don't know what God looks like, and even Moses has only seen his back, but we figure Jesus is as close as we can get. So God came, and he actually met in the tent of meeting. So hop on in there, God, Jesus. And this was the place that Moses, God, and Cash all met so that God could talk to him. So Moses, who's Moses? Come here. And Moses came. And every time he needed to meet with God, he didn't always go up on a mountain. He went into the tent of meeting. So they would go into their tent, and they would start to talk. And they would talk to each other like a friend talks to a friend. And I'm going to try and zip this tent up. Because when they went in there, the other Israelites, like his brother Aaron, would come and they couldn't see what was going on. And so Moses was there just with God all by himself. And they would talk, and God would tell him what he wanted him to do, and the Israelites kind of waited, wondering what's going on, because they weren't a part of it. Then, when Moses would come out, Aaron, head over there. Moses would come out, and it was kind of amazing, because when he came out, because he had been with God, his face was shining. Something about being in the presence of God made Moses' face shine so brightly that the other Israelites, like Aaron, his brother, would try to look at him but couldn't, had to cover his eyes because Moses was shining too brightly. So finally, Moses decided when he'd come out of the tent of meeting, he would cover his face with a scarf, right? So do that for us, Moses. Cover that face up. We got to make sure that people don't hurt their eyes looking at you. Because Moses had been with God, and being with God means reflecting his holiness. Now, here's what I think is cool about this story. One, God with his people, he chose to come and be with them and present with them. And actually, he was with them the whole time. He would meet in the tent of meeting, and then they built the tabernacle, and that was kind of a part of it. And that moved with them until eventually in the Promised Land, and eventually later on, we'll get to the story of Solomon building a temple, a huge and amazing place where God, again, was present with his people. But what do we know today? We know that God is present with us, right? Because of Jesus. Come here, Jesus. Because of Jesus, who told us before he ascended into heaven that his Spirit would come and be present with us, we know that God is present with us today. So even in the midst of this craziness we're living in right now, we know that God is with us everywhere. But here's the deal. If we're with God, our face should shine. Maybe not physically, it may not shine brightly like Moses's, but certainly our life should shine and should look like a reflection of God's presence. So here's what I'm wondering. What are ways that you can reflect God's presence during this isolation time? We're in a stay-at-home order for a month. So what are the ways that you can reflect God's presence with you? If we're spending time with him, if we're learning more about him, if we're praying and reading his word and trying to grow, we should reflect that presence on our face. So I want you to think about that. One, I want you to draw me some pictures of Moses with his face shining and the tent of meeting with God and Moses meeting together with their boxer dog. And I want you to make sure that the things you do with your siblings or with your parents or with the few people that you're around, make sure that you're reflecting the light of Christ in everything you do. That's our story for this week. A couple things I want to remind you as we go about this time. There are some great resources for you to learn more about Jesus during this time apart. So make sure your parents are checking our church Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Gardner First Baptist. And I've shared some opportunities like the Mr. Phil TV, which is a great online site, and some other things that you can do to continue to grow in your faith during this time. Make sure you're following with us. Make sure that you're involved in whatever ways you can to reflect the light of Christ with your family as we spend this time in isolation. Well, I hope you guys are doing okay. Stay home, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey, baby.
It's so good.
Okay, guys, I thought we would do a couple songs that we normally do at Discovery Club. And it starts with one of my favorites that we do most weeks. It's Jesus Loves Me. You know it. It's a familiar one, but you may not know it this way. Kids from Discovery Club certainly do. But you can pick it up. Let's go nice and quiet. Whisper. Jesus loves me. This I know. For the Bible tells me so. And he's the best. J-E-S-U-S. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so, and he's the best, J-E-S-U-S, a little bit louder, Jesus loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so, and he's the best, J-E-S-U-S, a little bit louder, Jesus loves me, this I know. Bible tells me so, and he's the best, J-E-S-U-S. All right, here we go, nice and loud. Jesus loves me, this I know. Here we go. nice and quiet. And he's the best. J-E-S-U-S. Very good. Nice job. Thanks for singing along. This is a song we've been learning, we've been working on. And it's really wordy, but I still want you to learn it. It's based off the Shema, or what Jesus says in Mark 12, that we call the Jesus Creed. So, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, and love all humankind as you have loved yourself, and love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul and mind, and love humankind. We've got Christian lives to live, we've got Jesus love to give, we've got nothing to hide, because in God we abide. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, and love all humankind as you have loved yourself, and love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul and mind, and love humankind. We've got Christian lives to live, we've got Jesus love to give, we've got nothing to hide, because in God we abide. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, and love all humankind as you have loved yourself, and love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul and mind, and love humankind. We've got Christian lives to live, we've got Jesus love to give, we've got nothing to hide, because in God we abide. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul and all your mind, and love all humankind as you have loved yourself, and love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul and mind, and love humankind. We've got Christian lives to live, we've got Jesus love to give, we've got nothing to hide, because in God we abide. Love. That's it. I can't do anymore.